Welcome to another episode of Skeptic's Corner, Mansfield Reformatory. Just real quick, your thoughts going into the location versus your thoughts after going in the location, not from a paranormal standpoint of what happened at this location in order for it to be haunted. What were your thoughts going in, Maeve?
Going in this place is huge. Of course, it's been in movies, so you kind of know. You go in with the preconceived notion of what you're going to see, but the place is just massive.
Okay.
And so coming out, it was basically the same thing. Like we didn't have enough time to go play in all the rooms and stuff, but it was a great place. So.
Okay, Gary?
I had actually been to the place before, so I already had a notion in general terms that it is giant. Like, it's a huge prison, and obviously a lot of people were housed there because of the prisoners and also died there and things like that. So there's a lot of like negative stuff that happens there, and that's why I think people think it's haunted and things like that. But it's a beautiful place. I'll give them that. They do a good job of keeping it up.
Taylor?
So I really thought when we were going in there that it was going to be we're going to spend more time with like in the cells, like more than any other time we'd just be in the prison rows, going through cells, finding like haunted cells to check out. But that was really only like a quarter of it. The second day we didn't see any cells, so it was just bigger than I thought it would be and like more intricate than I thought it would be. Okay,
so it's fascinating because when you hear about prison systems and you've been into that side, I guess, that criminal enterprise, nobody describes prison as beautiful. But obviously you're talking about the architecture, not the system itself. Just want to make sure that we cleared that up. But going into this prison, there's obviously a lot of things that happen. I found it fascinating that there was a lot of paranormal activity from the staffing side versus on the jail side. And I wanted to dive into the part of why do you guys think that from a paranormal standpoint? Because ideally you would think that the staff would be the villains and then everybody in those cells would be somewhat the heroes depending on your perspective. So if you can dive into that a little bit, why the staffing side in terms of it being more haunted than the jail side?
I think, honestly, they're not allowed. The inmates weren't allowed over there. And again, like you said, villains, good guys kind of thing. I'd go mess with them. I'm not going to stay in my spot. Okay. No, I'm going to go in somewhere I wasn't allowed.
Okay. All right. Gary?
I like that train of thought because they get the chance, if there were anything, to explore somewhere they haven't been in the prison. Like if they were confined to the cells, the yard, all that kind of stuff, they have a free reign to go wherever they want now, go to places they haven't been, and maybe it's more enjoyable than being in that prison that you were already in before if you died there.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm not convinced that there is more evidence on that side. We didn't get to explore the cells as much as we wanted to. I think if we got to explore more of the cells, we'd get more activity. But we didn't get a ton of evidence anyway, so I guess you could say it was a little bit more haunted. We did get some more evidence, especially Gary with the spirit box, or the music box, yeah. But overall, I think we needed more time on the other side.
Okay, so now we're gonna switch over to the paranormal side. So, for obvious reasons, we're in Mansfield Reformatory, not because of the movie. And that's why I asked you guys a little bit before going into this, what did you know about it from a non-paranormal standpoint, so everybody understand that the movie is not what got us to this location. The experiences that they had is not what got us to this location. What got us to this location is the fact that the activity from the paranormal aspect is very high. So with that being said, as the skeptic Gary that you are, we open up the episode with a story that was told of an orb. I just want to hear your thoughts about it because you've been in the building multiple times. So how can you, first give me your thoughts on it before you debunk it. Your thoughts on it, and then I'd love to hear Maeve, you and Taylor's thoughts after Gary give us his thoughts, because as she tells this story, you could tell that she experienced it because she's reliving it. So what is she reliving here?
Yeah, so I don't like discrediting people's experiences because I wasn't there for it. So everybody has their own experiences. But like how I would explain it would be, like she said, she was by herself. She didn't have her light on at that point. So you're in a giant location. You're doing a ghost investigation that she went separate from. So she's been there before. She's just a ghost investigator. She's done that. So her sense is already heightened in general because she's by herself. So of course, you're in somewhere and it's dark, whatever. You may feel like there's something behind you. I think the interesting thing for me is she's like, oh, well, it was right in front of the camera, but the camera just happened. It didn't work. Like that's always the thing when it comes to Bigfoot, paranormal, everything. The camera just happens to not work at this time. It's so convenient every time. And that's the thing that frustrates me because as when we're trying to prove this to people, like you got to have evidence. Stories can't make you a believer. You got to have proof, some kind of evidence. And there wasn't any. You have evidence of her turning her light on the camera, but you don't see anything. So like, that's where it's like, that's for me is where I'm like, oh, I'm not going to say you didn't feel like you experienced something, but there's no proof of it. It's just your word versus the camera not working. Like, so like, that's where I struggle with it. Okay. And like the ball of light aspect, how I would try to explain that away. Well, where she saw the apparition, which is where I had the experience with the music box. Yes. There is a light shining from outside. I'm not saying that's what it was, but you can get the moonlight, it could be inside, you could be coming through the window. There's things like that that's in that area. From being there, you can have, there's street lights, not street lights, but like the prison lights are outside. You can see them through the window. Mm-hmm. So like things like that, when it's pitch black, could play tricks on you. I'm not saying it was because it depends on when it was, time of the year, where the moon would be. All that stuff gets played into it. So without knowing all that, you don't know. But again, she had something she truly believed happened. And I can't discredit that for her. She experienced that. I need to experience that, or we need to capture that on camera for it to actually be proof. That's the whole thing, is we gotta have some kind of proof, not just, hey, I experienced this.
Right. Mary Taylor, you want to add to that? Do y'all want to add to that?
Yeah, I love that story. I thought it was really cool. I'd want to see the footage of it. Like, you know, she said the camera went out like right when it started to happen. So I'd like to see like the footage of it going out and then it coming back on when it's over. Yeah. I think that could help, you know, solidify it in my mind. Now, could they have edited that? I don't think they would, but you know, they could. You know, it's possible they could. So anybody could argue against that. But I think it's a cool story. I hope it happens to Maeve.
You want to add?
Well, I would like for it to happen to Maeve too, actually. No, but no, I'd say, hey, shut up. I know. But that's the one thing about personal experiences. They're not really ever going to be used as proof to anyone. That is just something that you experience. I mean, I've experienced stuff. I know Taylor, and you don't, but unless it's like you said, unless it's caught on camera. But some of the best stuff is never caught on camera, and that's just something that you take. That's your experience. So It was a cool story, though. Yes,
I'm so glad that we started there because we start off in the attic. Okay. And again, we started this conversation off with the skeptic that Gary is. And we're sitting in there and we're doing a session and all of a sudden, boom. Maybe you perk up. I'm going to let you take this away. I'm going to let you take this one away.
I get tricked by critters all the time. I'm going to let them talk.
You want to go take
it was awesome. I mean, you should have, like, the air got sucked out of the room when that thing went off.
Yes.
It was like, everyone froze up like, whoa, what was that? Yeah, it was really cool. I wish it would have been a ghost because that would have been really, really cool. But unfortunately, it was probably a raccoon.
I noticed that you and Maeve strategically positioned yourself between Gary and whatever was knocking on
Well, he said he wanted to go check it out, and I'm not going to just sit there and wait for him to tell us what it is. I want to see it too. I want to see it too. Yeah, but I'm going to be in the middle or the back. You know.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. So we found out what that is. We start off in the attic, but while we're there, though, Maeve, you smell something, and like nobody else has smelled anything, which is crazy to me.
It is insane because it's the smell of the attic. That's just how it smells. Every time I went in there, it smells like campfire. And I don't know, it just blows my mind that nobody smelled that. Like, it's stupid because that's how it smelled every single time.
So I love the smell of a campfire or fresh burning wood. Never smelled it once. Would have loved to smell it. But again, I will say this is the second time this has happened because this also happened with Harkey when we were at Sweet Springs. Harkey smelled something that me and Taylor did not smell in the building either. Yes. Maybe our senses are just terrible smell-wise. But that's the second time it's happened where somebody else with us has smelled something that we did not smell.
And I'm not saying it's paranormal. I'm saying that's literally how it smells.
Yeah,
that's just the actual place.
And
every single time.
Nothing, Taylor.
No.
That's
nothing.
so stupid.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's
I
crazy.
want to go back to the noise in the attic real quick because you didn't let me talk on it. So I did like what he said, like the air got sucked out of the room. I thought that was a good description because at that moment, we all got quiet because, hey, maybe this is something we're going to catch. and then you hear it over and over again, and I'm like, I got to go figure this out. So I was like, I'll go find out. I didn't think they were going to follow me. I thought they were going to sit there and just let me go, which would have been fine, because then it would have been even creepier. But still,
It would have.
But then hearing the sound, that's when I was like, well, I just destroyed that evidence because that would have been great evidence if I got down there and it did it again and it was not coming from that. That would have been awesome because then that would have been something I don't think I could have debunked.
You sound so remorseful. You look so happy.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I think this will be the perfect time to put in the question from our viewer, and it'll lead me into my next question. So the viewer is Brian Funderburk from North Carolina. His question is do you prefer large vacant locations or locations that are occupied and up and running? Maeve?
I like the vacant rundown just because it's vacant and rundown. And I just like that aesthetic. It makes it creepier for me. It's just, I don't know. I mean, both are equally haunted. It really doesn't matter. I get in the zone better when it's just like a super creepy place.
Okay.
That's a tough question because for me, I like when we get so much time and we can explore everything. The hardest thing with like the bigger locations that even if they're run down, we just don't get to explore everything. We don't get to investigate every little part. So the smaller locations that could still be active, like being used, you may get a chance to experience every part of it and investigate everything. So if there is something going on, you can actually investigate every single nook and cranny. Like he said with this one, we didn't get to do all the cells. We didn't have time. I didn't even get to do a solo on the first day because we ran out of time. So like that's probably the hardest part with the bigger location, but I do like the run down locations. I think that to me, it just the aesthetics is cool. It's creepier versus, oh, this is a lively, like where we're at right now. We did this way. This place looks like it's just been refurbished. Like it wouldn't make sense. Like it'd look weird trying to investigate this, even though like she said, if there is paranormal, it could be anywhere.
Yeah. I agree with the sentiment that the rundown big locations look aesthetically cool. And that was going to be my answer, but then I was like, wait a second, my favorite one is Bobby Mackey's. And that's one of the...
It's a little bit small rundown still.
Yeah.
That's rude.
They knocked it down because it was...
It's true. R.I.P. But yeah, I think there's something to be said about the active locations because we got a lot of evidence there. And the tendency with like the big rundown locations is that like so many people investigate, you wonder if like, I don't know, is it tainted? You know, like is so many people have gone there, do they like scare the ghosts away or whatever? Where the active ones, I don't know. I don't know. There's not really good logic behind that thought, but yeah.
I would have thought that your logic would have been, which leads me to the question of the day, is I thought you would go with ones that were occupied or active because you had a problem with sky puppies. And so because you had a problem with sky puppies, I'd love to hear your thoughts because you said that you like the vacant ones, but yet you don't like the byproduct of going to the vacant ones. Yeah. So let me hear your thoughts about this.
Well, this is the first one we've had bats, besides Waverly, the very first one.
So not the first one, but...
Okay, Waverly had 1 or 2 bats.
But you got dive bomb there.
We did get dive bomb, but it was only 1 or 2 bats. This one is like thousands of bats.
It's a sky puppy.
I never thought they were sky puppies. If I would have known they were sky puppies, I would have been cooler with them. In my head, I thought they were gonna like eat my ears or like fly down and attack me. So
How do you handle being in a room full of bats all the time?
So,
We hadn't seen one bat, bro.
Then they're ghost bats, because I hear them everywhere. And there was one flying around in a circle. They said that the 3rd floor. Fucking bird. Okay, I'm hugging this wall. Okay, the red light's on now. Okay. All right. So yeah, I'm crouched. Can I crouch down? I hate the bats, bro. I feel like I'm gonna get attacked. Ooh. And I have to pee so bad. Yep, there goes the bat. It's flying around the room. Yep, it's doing circles around the room. I can't. I don't know how long I'm gonna make it here. Yeah, the bats. No, don't hurt me. All right, if there's anybody in this room, can you make a noise or something so I can get out of here?
Yeah. Maeve, what about you? You became one with the bats. I mean, other than a few times they flew through. Is there any challenges when you're dealing with bats, when you're in there, as far as from the paranormal devices or anything like that? Because there were a few times where some devices that went off. And I don't know if it was in relation to the bats, because I know, Gary, that's what you would use as a skeptic. Or was it in relation to maybe an energy or something like that, Maeve? I don't know if I'm reaching. I'm just trying to figure out, like, is there any correlation or uncorrelation with having animals in there and paranormal devices?
Like, fucking bat.
I mean, with the devices, of course, especially if they're motion censored, they can pick up the movement of the bats. I mean, in anything out there, rats, mice, whatever. Okay. And I don't think paranormal-wise there's much of a correlation there, but they can screw up your evidence, the sounds, the noises, and all that stuff.
Okay. All right. I'm getting myself ready, Gary. I'm getting myself ready. So what do you think? Because I got something good for you.
Yeah, so...
depending on how you answer
I'll
this.
actually even use the part where I had the music box going off for myself. So when the music box is going off in the apparition room, at the start of it, if you're watching, a bat flies by at the start.
Right.
So bats, how do they get around? Sonar. They do the echolocation type stuff. So talking to Lauren about the devices and all that stuff, she says the music box deals with like sound waves and all that kind of stuff. So literally, if they're trying to fly around and get in their location, that sound wave can literally set off that music box.
Okay.
So to me, that's what I think, because it happened right at the start, flew by. So that could have been, at any time, that could have been what was setting it off. Like, and that to me, it sucks, because like Bobby Mackey's, it was harder to explain the music box going because there wasn't bats there. Right. So, but like this one, that makes it easier for me to explain away the music box going off, because there are bats making noises and going around, like she said. Like, it throws off, and it just makes it harder to use that as true evidence. Because like, okay, yes, it could have gone off because I asked questions, there could have been something there, but it also could have been the bats trying to fly around and doing their location thing, because it could set it off. So like, it's interesting having that kind of thing, because it makes it a lot harder to get true evidence. But that's also what I feel like, if we ever get true evidence with that stuff going on that I can't disprove, and it's just like indestructible evidence, that's what's going to be something that has never been done. Because you have all these other things and you're getting something that's so concrete, nobody can say, oh, that's fake. We had just proved it with so many other distractions. And I think that is what we're looking for. That's what we're chasing.
Okay. Taylor, what about yourself?
I think they answered it pretty much, covered everything. I don't think it would have been the echolocation setting off the music box, because it sets off through motion. I don't know if sonar would count as motion. I don't know. I'd have to see an experiment. But
Can you do echolocation?
I don't think so.
Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah. So,
I don't think so.
Maybe Gary said that it's a fear response. You go into the location And we all know that you wear your emotion on your sleeve. And we know you wear your emotion on your sleeve. And when you start using your four-letter F word, we know that you are very in tune with the location. So with all that being said, Gary said that it was a fear response. What were you feeling? Kind of give us an idea of what's going on, because music box is going off. You know, maybe there's bats with echolocation that's going off, but we're okay with the sky puppets because we're settled in. But we noticed that the hairs on the back of your neck stood up, like things started to change. When you was like, there's no way that, what are we feeling right now? Was that a fear response, or was there something, what was it?
That is the question of the day. I don't know. Probably a fear response. I mean, it could be a little bit of everything. I could just be really in tune to things that Gary is not in tune to, but whatever.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying, though. That's why I find it funny, because it wasn't that you was in there by yourself because you had been in there for a while. It wasn't like a natural, this was something that was built up over time. So I like, for you to walk into that same area one time and it'd be okay and you don't feel anything, to go back then and go, ooh, there's something different there.
That one it was. I mean, when I went, that was way different. And I don't know. I've never said no, I'm not going somewhere. But I said no, I'm not doing it. I don't know. I was like, I was cranky. I don't know why. I was really cranky.
Yes.
And I was kind of just over it at that point.
Yes.
So I don't know why I was like that, but I kind of do. But it was. But it was just, I don't know. It just came out of nowhere. It was that same room. Like you said, we've been through there 100 times. Yes. I was up in the attic by myself for a little while. Nothing. And then it was just like, nope, not doing that again. I'm out.
Okay. So the apparition room, Gary, you've mentioned this and you've said this, that the bat flew over, echolocation, it set off the music box. But this is what I find ironic, Gary. You said, if you want me to sit down, set off the music box, boom, music box goes off. And you was like, nah, you got to do it again in order if you want me to sit down, you know, boop, it plays it again.
Set it off. Keep it going.
I didn't see any bats. I didn't see anything in the screen, what it looked like to me that you were interacting with this box. Before you say something, Taylor, did it not look like the same thing to you, that he was having a conversation with I just want to make sure that I saw the same thing.
No, it looked like he was talking to you.
Oh, okay. So Gary, explain that, because you did say that. This is the same place that she saw this spear. This is the same place where she saw this apparition. And this area is where we got this activity. And you had a full-blown conversation with a music box.
No, so the thing is, it wasn't instant. It wasn't instantaneous. So I would say, hey, if you want me to sit down, and then I'd ask something, blah, 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 and then it'd go off. So I'm like, okay, well, let's do it again. And I'd say, hey, if you want me to sit down and set it off. So then you see me turn the camera here, point to the camera, all that kind of stuff. So it's time elapsed, and then it set it off again. And I just used that as, okay, I guess I'll sit down. Because it eventually went off after I asked the question before I asked another one. So, but if it was instantaneous, then it would be different. I don't think there was an instantaneous response to when I asked the question.
First one, do you want me to sit down? Play the music box.
It took a second.
The music box
It took a second
off.
for it to go off. It didn't go off right away.
We don't know how long it takes your voice to travel through space and time.
If it's right there, it should have had no problem.
Okay. Well, I want to hear your thoughts, Tax. Because again, you said it did sound like it, but if you can go a little in depth
Before you do, I want one question for both of you with that same situation. I want to know how y'all would react, because I don't think y'all truly have had the music box. You had a little bit go off, but I want to know how y'all would feel if the music box was going off like it was in general to y'all, because it's gone off twice to me, like extensively. So I want to know how y'all would handle that situation, like realistically, because I know y'all are gonna be, I would be fine with it, but I've seen y'all in situations, so I want to know how you would actually handle it. How would you feel?
I would have stayed. I've had the Sweet Springs. I had it happen with the
REM pod.
Not
the music box.
It's the same thing. If you're talking to something and it's beeping when you're asking it to, it's the same thing.
Yes.
That's my favorite kind of evidence, because I mean, yet. Obviously, I would love to see something manifest in front of me, but so far that's my favorite because it's like you're really having a conversation with something, and it's like responding to you, and so you're talking to nothing, but it's giving you responses like there's a human there. So it's weird. It's like this weird sensory kind of whirlwind in your brain. It's like I don't really know what's happening, but it's very interesting. I would have stayed. I'd like to think. I was with.
I would like to think. Yeah.
I was with the homie when we were doing it. We did duos, and that's when I got mine.
Of course, you had somebody with you. You're not by yourself. It's a difference when you're by yourself, and that's the reason why I asked, because I've seen y'all experience things and by yourself, and y'all are ready to go. You're gone. Like she didn't want to go upstairs when she heard noises upstairs.
Yes.
It's like I've seen you run out when you feel like you heard body being drugged, things like that. So I'm interested if y'all ever got the music box to truly go off, how you would handle that by yourself, because it's different when you're by yourself.
I think I'm getting more brave.
I will say,
Famous last words.
I would be okay in the moment, I think, because that's cool. I mean, that would be engaging. That's pretty awesome. It's when it stopped, and I think it went through my brain. What just happened?
Yes.
I'd book it out probably. I'd be just like, nope, okay, great, thank you for the conversation. Deuces.
I agree with that because there's something like when there's noise around you and you know where it's coming from, it's almost kind of comforting. That's why I talk to myself a lot when I'm entering and leaving the building, which are like, great job, Taylor. It's great for the camera. I'm like, I'm doing it for me.
So you said you would possibly leave. You said afterwards you would think about it or whatever. But what happened? You walk in, first thing you do, you sit down. 5 minutes in, it goes off, and then now what? You still have 30 more minutes.
Right.
Would you leave?
Well,
Like-
not now.
Well, now, here's the difference, though, Gary, and I understand what she's saying. So if I go in and I sit the music box down and I'm talking and it just goes off, it's different than when I say, hey, if you want me to sit down, set the music box off, and 3 seconds later, not a second and a half, 3 seconds later, the music box goes off. He's interacting with me or she's interacting with me now. That's a different we're communicating with each other. Sit down. Okay, all right, you didn't take it the first time. So maybe this was a female entity where it was like, oh, okay, he doesn't listen. So now you say, hey, do you want me to sit down, set the music box off? So she has to pace a couple times because she has to think about it like, he didn't hear me the first time. The music box goes off again.
Okay.
And you say, okay, I'm gonna take it as I'm sitting down. Like none of this.
No, because again, it still wasn't instantaneous. It took a minute for it to do it. It wasn't the right away. Some time elapsed. You'll see it. And I sat down assuming that would be what I would want it at that point. Because again, like we've had with when we've met with a psychic who I don't believe, or medium, I don't believe in that stuff either. But I'm a large person doing investigating. There's a lot of people that aren't as big as I am doing investigations.
Right.
Just imagine being some random person and some asshole is like telling you what to do. Like, hey, set this off. Not fast enough. You're like, fuck this guy. Like, God, this guy sucks.
Hey, if you have that power to do this, then you can do it. Like, come on. Interact.
Funny. I never thought about it like that. So pushy, man.
But in the moment, I'm not pushy. I want you to set it off. You know.
Man, so what do you, let me see how I can put this. And I'm trying to think about how I can put this because Mansfield Reformatory was one of those places, Gary, that I walked into, not only just the movie alone, but knowing that the criminals that have been here, the past history to this place, from the paranormal side and from the normal side, just everything that was entangled. I just knew that this was going to be the location that blew the doors off your mental capacity of believing that the paranormal exists. But things took a shift. It didn't work out the way that I wanted to work out, but it still worked out to the point where we had some activity that you seem to be able to debunk with sonar and echolocation from the bats. I thought that this was it. I thought that clearly there was interaction between you and the paranormal device.
Yeah,
Right.
That sounds crazy.
Yeah, it's wild, right?
Hey,
it is so wild.
Sit down and talk to Lauren. Lauren, who makes devices. She talks to you about how that thing, sounds can set off that thing. I know it's motion, but sound waves can set it off. She's literally explained how it does scientifically, how it can be set off. And scientifically, bats use echolocation. That's sound waves.
Okay. So, Maeve. Maeve, what do you rate this investigation?
I will stay, I think, pretty up there just because I said I wasn't going to go do something. So, I mean, that's a thing. I'll still give it like a 7, 8. Again, just because we didn't get a lot, I know there's something in that place.
Yes.
And we just...
I know that there's something in that place, too, because I saw an interaction between a device and a human person.
I mean, even if the bats are talking, that's still pretty damn cool. I'm just saying.
So because I talked to a bat, I'm going to say 3.5. Since I don't think anybody's ever really been able to talk to bats.
He's not bad.
Right.
So I'll say 3.5 on investigation. But again, like the location, I think is amazing. Like, I recommend that as an investigation for anybody. And I want to go back and do it again. Like, I truly think, like, if we had more time, like I said, I would like to do more of, like, the solitary confinement underneath and more of the cells versus the administration and just experience more. I didn't get to do that the first night. So I would like to get to do that and see if we can get anything to happen. But it is interesting that I'm the one that usually gets anything with the music box. They never do when they bring it in for some reason. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I also never bring it in.
Because he doesn't want it to go off.
What do you rate this investigation?
I'll give it the same as Maeve, 7. I think it's a really good spot. I definitely want to go back, spend more time there. I want to spend more time in the prisoner side. I felt like we needed more time there. Now, I did get to go in for my first solo, but I don't know. I'm always like, man, I should have done more. So, yeah, I'd love to go back.
So if you always think you should do more, so why do you get out so quick then?
I'm always in there pretty long. I don't know what he's talking about. He didn't even have a solo the first day. This guy can't even talk.
So Taylor, you had the opportunity to walk down the halls and be a security guard.
Yeah. Didn't make the episode though.
It did not make the episode. I just want to know, what did that feel like?
That was weird. It almost felt bad because you guys are like, yeah, pretend you're a security guard. And then I was like, okay, now I'm going to make every one of these guys hate me. So it feels like, it's like I'm turning everything hostile. I'm like, should I do this? Is this a good idea? Yeah. But I went with it and I tried to play it as like, I'm the nice security guard. It's like, yeah, you guys can come out. Who cares? You guys can do whatever you want. Pizza night, whatever. Yeah. So I was trying to like get them on my side, but also get them kind of riled up and maybe get some interaction. But
the only reason why I asked you that question, and it had nothing to do with it making the edit, because I wanted to get your true feeling on when you entered the cell. Granted, the cell door didn't close behind you, but just being in that space, what did it feel like being in that space versus you just played the guard. You know what it feels like to be on the guard side, walking the halls and yelling at the I won't say clients, or I don't want to say the convicts. The inmates. But how did it feel once you went into that cell and it was just you and those walls and you was having that conversation? Like, obviously there was a change you could see, but how big was the difference? Like, what did the room feel like? Because, you filled it up pretty quick. You're not a big guy, but it's not a lot of space.
Not a lot of space. It was very tight. Claustrophobic. I can't imagine spending most of my days there. I can't imagine spending, a good amount of time in there. They're in there. How long do they get like free time? Probably 12 hours a day. They're in those cells. It's like there's 18 to 20. There's no room for anything. There's no room for activities. It's tight, man.
You get bunk beds.
You do get bunk beds. It's kind of cool, I guess. I don't know. Full of Step Brothers moment. It would be a nightmare to be in there. Yeah, straight up.
Yeah. You also went in the cells. Maeve. How did that feel?
I don't know. Like, I can't remember much about that night. I know I went in the solitary. Is that where I was at?
Yeah.
I didn't get much down there. I didn't really feel any kind of way. Honestly, though, I've been in other prisons and stuff like that. I kind of feel safer in the cell. Just because, I mean, like, you're out in the middle of this big open place. You don't know what's going to happen. I kind of like, at least my back's against a wall. So.
Oh, wow.
It feels cozier.
That sounds like a criminal mindset. I like being in the cells. Yeah. Send me back. This was an interesting investigation because of the prior history, how massive it was, the sky puppies, in terms of eliminating the evidence that we got. I mean, as crazy as it seems, you know, it is plausible. So because it's still plausible, we got to go to our next location. I'm excited because where we're going.